All right, sorry for the background noise as usual, but here we go again. So this is really the type of video that I wanted to be doing. This kind of series on a long time ago. So I'm really liking this clickbait video review theme. And the ones I really couldn't stand is like you just get bombarded by these ads for these videos, like 3 mixing secrets you must know that will completely transform your career and have people knocking down your door. You know, just like all kinds of just total hyperbole. And then they would tell you there wouldn't really be anything in the video. They would say, here you go, just sign up at my spot to get a chance to win for just $99.95 a month, the super secret course that'll have you learning all this stuff. But it's always, it's just some kind of bait and switch thing. But so let's see what we got here. So this one right here, 5 mixing secrets the pros don't want you to know behind the speakers. Oops, sorry, I have to catch up something. Okay, so this one, 5 mixing secrets the pros don't want you to know. Yeah, this is behindthespeakers.com. As if the pros are out there trying to keep everybody out from, I don't know if you want to call me a pro or not, but I'm sick half the time, so I just want I want the other guys to be able to do my job so we can get more done. As if there's a conspiracy of professional mixing engineers or something out there trying to hide, trying to hide how to mix from everybody. When, usually when you talk to these guys, they'll just tell you, and it's not really a secret. Well, let's see, maybe this guy's got some secrets. And so underneath in the description, it says, ready to learn how to mix like a pro? Click the link below to download your free ebook, 35 mixing mistakes you don't know you're making. Or hire me to mix your music. For all we know, this guy's a killer mixer. But should we go download this free ebook, 35 mixing mistakes you don't know you're making? Maybe that'll be another project for me. But let's just see what secrets the pros don't want us to know.
Pull back the curtain and discover what the world's best mixers don't want you to know. Well, in this video, that's exactly what we're gonna do, so keep watching to learn what it really takes to mix like a pro. Hey, this is Jason from Behind the Speakers, and before we dive in, make sure you grab my free ebook, 35 Mixing Mistakes You Don't Know You're Making. Click the link above or in the description below to download this free ebook now. The first big secret, great mixing is often pretty boring. I remember when I went to audio school, I took a class with a Grammy-winning mixer by the name of Kevin Killen. And the first day, I'll never forget, he pulled up one of his mixing sessions, and on the projector screen, the big Pro Tools window came up, and he scrolled through the session, and there were like 4 plugins on the whole thing. It was like an EQ and a compressor, and it was so boring. I expected all sorts of fancy mixing techniques and crazy parallel, sidechain, whatever.
Oh, well, I guess that's kind of a... Sorry, 1 second. A lot of that stuff where you guys hear about all this parallel this and subkick that and all that, that's all this hype nonsense that you guys talk about in forums. Like you hear some guys say you need to do this thing, so all you turkeys go out and try and say me too. All this me too stuff is nuts. Yeah, I expect it to be boring. You don't need to have all this crazy stuff going on. And who says it's boring? I don't know, man. Is this a secret? It's a secret that you don't by default put a bunch of crap on your stuff before you know you need it. I don't know. Is that a secret? It's like, do you pour sugar all over your donut? Maybe it already has sugar on it. I don't know. let's see what they're talking about.
But it was so simple what he was doing, and when he pressed play, it sounded amazing. And the truth is, we all love to geek out over these advanced, sexy techniques, right? Because we think that that's really what makes the difference. But at the end of the day, great mixing is often pretty simple. Simple tools like EQ and compression and balancing, volume levels, panning. That's the stuff that makes the majority of the impact. And I know it's not fun to talk.
So that's a secret, that mixing consoles have fader and pan controls and EQs on them. Nobody ever knew what they were for before. I mean, if this guy hadn't told you that secret, you would have never known to push that fader or turn that pan knob, you know, or
talk about. But the best mixers are often using these fancy techniques a lot less than we realize. Big secret number 2, the best records sound great before mixing. The truth is, when you're a really good mixer, you get mostly tracks that are recorded very well. So the best mixers in the world are working on the best sounding tracks. Of course their mixes sound amazing, because the truth is, we all know that it's most important to start with the right raw ingredients. And if you...
Yeah, so, you know, sometimes the mix is the song, though, or the song is the mix. A lot of times you get these electronic types of music where, you know, it really isn't a song until you're in the mixing stage. Or I guess, you know, it all gets blurred nowadays so much. This is the mixing stage or the editing stage or whatever. You're kind of doing everything at once. But, you know, it's an important point. I don't know if it's a secret. If, like, right now I'm struggling with some poorly recorded tracks, and it's a pain. The mix just isn't sounding good. But is that a secret?
You can get the recording right and the production right, and if the performance is great and the song is great, then the mix often just comes together. Yeah, it's when we're trying to bang our head against the wall, making something that never really fit together in the first place sound good in the mix, that we end up running into problems.
Yeah, you know, I got that title of Audio Alchemist because I turned Doggy Doo into, well, you can spray paint it gold anyway. But yeah, it must be, it's a secret. Hey, you know what the secret is to getting good guitar sounds? Tune your guitar. It's a secret.
So we can all learn from
this. You know, pros don't want you to know that you should tune your guitar before you play, and don't play sloppy and don't be hitting missed notes all over the place. That pros don't want you to know that.
That's right. Going back to the recording process and the production process, treating that as really where we're getting the majority of the sound of our record, and using the mixing process more as this finalizing process versus trying to make it all happen in the
I'm glad you have this cool background music. Like, this feels like one of those focus group things. You go to a mall and they sit you down and they say, hey, you know, would you prefer to have this background music going? Does it make you feel more or less comfortable? Yeah, not that I can say anything. I got somebody giving drum lessons in the back room here, so.
Mix. Even though our community tends to glorify mixers, in many cases they're contributing an incremental improvement to the sound, but they're not taking something that sounds horrible and making it sound absolutely incredible. In some cases that might be, but in the vast majority of cases, certainly at that top level, parallel
and there's Def Leppard,
sound, but they're not taking something that sounds horrible and making it sound absolutely incredible. In some cases that might be, but in the vast majority of cases, certainly at that top level, they're working with tracks that already sound really good before they hit the mixer's desk. Big secret number 3 is great mixers love the mute button. Now, this is a little bit of a dirty secret in the music making community, but great mixers mute people's tracks all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've done this. I get sessions from artists or producers all the time, and there's so many tracks and they're all competing with each other and nothing sounds good, and I just go through the session and get rid of the stuff that doesn't need to be there. This could be extra mics, extra parts, background vocals, things that just are getting in the way. And by
just because it's recorded doesn't mean you need to use it on the final product. You know, none of the guitar noises or stuff you were gonna mute anyway. But you know that carries on just as much to parts that you don't really need at the time.
By doing
not a secret. I don't know any pros that are not gonna tell you that Remember, this is the secrets that pros don't want you to know. I don't know any pros who wouldn't tell you that turn off the junk you don't need.
As the whole mix opens up, it sounds clearer and better right off the bat before I've even done anything. So whenever you're in a situation where you feel like you're piling on more and more and more, and things are just sounding smaller, instead of just adding more, think, can I take something away here?
So
Maybe I can get rid of this stuff. And by thinking more subtractively and looking at what's the fewest number of tracks that I can actually add to
your beats easier.
World? Okay. So I'm just checking out this guy's website here. So, he's sitting in front of a console with a suit on. He's got a mission of some sort. Oh, wow. Actually, it's pretty crazy. Ouch, he had cancer and... Wow. That's kind of cool, actually. Let's hear some of this stuff. Am I going to get in trouble if I play this? I probably will. You know what? You guys can go on this site and play some of this stuff and see how you like it. I don't know. Anyway, here we go.
This arrangement. What's the fewest number of parts I need in order to convey the emotion, the tone of the song? Oftentimes, the sound and the quality of your mixes will improve by leaps and bounds. It's not about adding more. It's actually, in many cases, about taking things away. Big secret number 4 is that even the best still mix bad records. I remember when I was first starting out as a mixer, I worked on a lot of crummy sounding music, and I would think, man, I can't wait for the day that I make it big so I can just work on really amazing sounding records every single day. The truth is, this doesn't happen for anybody. Even the best still work on crummy sounding music sometimes. It's true that as you get better and as you progress as a mixer, you end up working on better sounding music, and the quality of the records generally improves over time. But there's always going to be those records that either you're not a fan of or are poorly.
So yeah, pros don't want you to know that they mix the songs that people send them to mix.
They recorded. But I've learned that I work a lot harder. Produced well, it's poor. That actually forces me to tracks. Working on some crummy sounding. Big secret number 5 is not everybody loves your work. This is a big one because along my journey as a mixer, I've had my fair share of situations where I've done a mix for somebody and they just weren't happy with it for whatever the reason. I did my best. I really tried to revise the mix to meet their needs, but we would just get to a point where it was like, you know what? I don't know that we're the right fit. And I used to think that I was the only one, out there who was dealing with this situation.
Very wrong,
but
and you didn't
the more conversations I had with other really great mixers and just produce subjective taste, direction, what happens. So it's not like you get to a point where you never have unhappy. Most people are happy, and that's okay. Now don't forget to grab my free ebook, 35 Mixing Mistakes You Don't Know You're Making. Avoid these mistakes and you'll be well on your way to mixing like a pro
secrets the pros don't want you to know. Okay, let's just
Hey Frank, Graham here from Recording.
How you guys know how I love this guy. So, but I did a video. I watched a video of his where he actually had some really good advice. Most of this stuff just seems like really mega church, clickbait, soul harvest, multi-level marketing crap. Like I don't know about this thing, but he really did have his audio interface video. I thought was great. So here's 3 mixing secrets from Nirvana engineer Andy Wallace. This is from recordingrevolution.com.
Hey Frank, Graham here from recordingrevolution.com. If you like hard-hitting mixes and hard-hitting music...
Oh yeah, see here's another one. So here's in the description. Create radio-worthy songs from your bedroom. Download my free radio-ready guide and learn my 6-step process. So it's another upsell. The thing is, though, his information is not that bad. I don't know why it's so mega preacher churchy. It's weird. I remember I grabbed that book. It was nothing like I don't know if I actually learned anything, but he actually shows you how he does things in his style, and it was actually pretty cool. He just works on everything from the master, and then starts working the tracks by themselves after that. Very much in context, which I really like. I don't know that the guy has ever used the solo button, because he he really I don't know that I've ever heard a real mix that he's done, just the examples, but everything is done in context, which is a very cool idea. So anyway, let's see what he has to say.
Then you probably are a fan of Andy Wallace's work. And if you're not a fan, you probably have heard his work. Andy's the guy who famously mixed Nirvana's Nevermind, one of the best rock records of all time.
You know, the opening salvo in the Volume Wars, by the way. People seem to forget that when they're like, oh, that vintage warmth of Nirvana, all right.
He's mixed Foo Fighters, he's mixed Coldplay, even Guns N' Roses. The guy has been crushing it in the studio for over 50 years. The dude rarely sits down to give interviews, and there's not a lot of content from him. More in recent years as he's started to come out and teach a little bit. But there's a great interview that Sound on Sound did with him a few years back that I love, because he really shared a lot about his mixing process. And what I wanted to do was pull out the 3 big nuggets that I got from the interview, some mixing secrets, if you will, that are super relevant to us in the home studio.
Isn't Andy Wallace one of the guys? I'm not sure, but I think he's one of, we used to have those myths of the music industry. I can't really say them all, but one of them is the check is in the mail. Another one is we'll fix it in the mix. And the other one is I only use drum samples to drive the reverb. And I swear Andy Wallace was one of those guys who said something like that. So let's see what we got.
Super relevant to you if you mix any kind of music, especially hard rock. And I think you might find them a little surprising.
Okay.
Secret number 1, the quick mix. That's right. All too often when you and I sit down to start mixing, we want to dive in and get really surgical and start throwing around a lot of plugins and fixing things and going real deep on these tracks. But I have suggested for years and taught for years and advocated for years for the super quick mix. Mix as fast as you possibly can. And it seems like Andy agrees. In the interview, Andy says,
this is what I was talking about Graham. He really seems to have this contextual faders kind of, here's the mix, and I'm going to take away the junk that's getting in the way. I don't, let's see what he says about Andy Wallace. Hey, Sam. No, I'm not talking to this guy.
Be throwing things up very quickly, almost like doing a quick monitor mix, and balance everything very quickly just to see how all the elements are supposed to sound together and I have a basic feeling of the entire track. Now, Andy is really smart for mixing this way. You and I should too, for 2 reasons. One, when you start mixing quickly and you throw up faders and you just react, you create the most realistic balance as an audience would expect it. You're not overthinking things, and so you're just thinking about big picture, the forest, not the trees. Are these tracks balanced to each other? And you're making critical decisions on what I think are the most important things, which are level and then relative level to each other. Where you place the bass guitar and what level the vocal is and how hot or quiet the snare drum is will determine how much EQ or compression you need. Level is your number 1 weapon in a mix before you drop in any plugin.
Yeah, as much as I don't like all the hypey, clickbaity stuff from this guy, this makes sense.
And so you are stopping to think again, like a listener, like, is this too loud or too quiet? Which is how listeners think anyway. So you're thinking big picture first before you dive into the nitty gritty. And the second reason you want to mix quickly is because the longer you take, the more you start to second guess yourself, the more you start to lose perspective. We lose perspective so quickly. Your ears adjust, so you can't trust your ears after.
But let's be real. So many tracks you're going to get, especially as an amateur, are going to be just garbage. Like you can't even get levels up. I mean, that's the thing. This is no secret. Yeah, see, again, it's 3 mixing secrets. It's no secret. We used to call it just the faders up mix. You'd put the tape on the machine, you'd hit play, and you'd push faders until you had a relatively okay mix, and then you'd start going crazy with the automation and stuff.
Few seconds of listening, you get used to things a certain way, you forget what things should sound like, and here's the kicker: your first impression of a song is generally the right one. So an hour from now, you're going to be making bad decisions. The first thought that comes to your mind when you hear a track is before you lose that initial impression. Secret number 2, Andy uses just one EQ and one compressor. Specifically, he mixes on an SSL console, and he just uses the built-in EQ on each channel strip and the built-in compressor on each channel strip. Hardly any fancy outboard gear. And he says, I'm not shy of using EQ, and it's almost always board EQ. I've found over the years that I use less and less outboard for mixing.
See, this is hilarious, man. I want to see all these hype lords and music marketing machine guys cry when somebody like this says something like that. Because that's the truth is. I mean, back in the day, you know, we had more gear than just about anybody. We had insane piles of gear. And when you brought in one of these pro mixers, they would pretty much just use the EQs on the board, and that was it. They might patch in something magical for a vocal or something, but oftentimes they wouldn't even do that. So yeah, I don't know about this mixing secrets.
Seems that the SSL can give me what I need. Now, please don't miss this powerful concept and think that, oh, it's because he's got a real SSL, that's why his mixes sound awesome. No, the takeaway here is that simplicity works. By deciding to commit to just using one EQ and one compressor for 90% of your mix moves, you have eliminated the pointless energy wasted on picking which effect to use and freed up that brain space to then be used on being creative and strategic on what to do.
Yeah, this guy is making all the gear snobs and cork sniffers cry right here. This is pretty funny. Yeah, the threshold plug and the Nova EQ. Yeah, I mean, yeah, really, you know, it's crazy because we wouldn't have thought back in the day, and we had piles and piles of stuff, but really, most everything just worked. You know, the SSL board compressor wasn't, you know, great compared to the kind of plugins we have. Oh man, I just said it. I like our plugin compressors way better than the SSL's channel plugin compressor. I know people really like that mix bus compressor still, but it still, it worked. We just worked. I would often patch in a better noise gate. That's for damn sure. I'd patch in a drummer or something. Let's see what else we
do with the EQ and compressor you've chosen. And finally, secret number 3 from Andy's interview with Sound on Sound is ride the faders. Now, a lot of the work that Andy's mixed is really hard-hitting stuff. I mean, he mixed Slayer. And naturally, people want to know how he gets such hard-hitting records. Is it compression? Is it limiting? Is it some magical, obscure piece of outboard gear? Well, it turns out the answer is simply riding the volume faders. I'll spend a lot of time riding certain bass notes up that seem to be getting lost and notes down that are jumping out too much. This stage is mostly a matter of fine-tuning the automation, riding this up a bit, swoop something else, maybe have a part 3 to 4 dB louder when the chorus hits, and then bring it down gradually.
You know, I wonder which Slayer albums did Andy Wallace do? Because so a lot of this stuff, this is the way we used to do things. You know, often we would actually record the tape, record to another 2 channels of a tape, or you know, a synced machine, and then totally change the mix and then punch in and record it again. So you would have these like different sounds for different parts. But you know, actually moving up and down the volume for different parts, I mean, it's kind of scary because you kind of can't do it anymore. With the people want a really static mix, so you can't really have louder parts here and there. You can kind of change the mix density and stuff, but you know, now that allegedly the volume wars are over because we're using the EBU R128 or whatever scale, the loudness LUFS scale, I don't know that we're still allowed to have these dynamic mixes though, where you have like a quiet verse and a really loud chorus. I suppose you could, but I'm thinking of, you know, more of the modern Slayer stuff. You're not really getting that movement. Let me see which Slayer Andy Wallace did, because he didn't do whatchamacall, he didn't do the iconic ones, right? Andy Wallace, Slayer. Let's see, just pulled out South of Heaven. No, which ones did he do? So, oh man, I'm trying to find it. Discord. Reverb on Slayer. Andy Wallace credits. Okay, here we go. So here's all music. Let's find Slayer. Soundtrack to the Apocalypse. That's 2000s. This is probably not going to be Season the Abyss. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I like that one, but that was before really the really Volume Warsy kind of one. So that's probably cool. But you know, nowadays, like I was saying, like especially like you know, new metal, or what is that Jesus rock stuff, the metalcore. I don't think people really want that much dynamics anymore. So I don't know. Can you still do this?
I'm playing around with things that I feel add to the drama and architecture.
Well, if you're talking about individual instruments, sure you can. But I don't know about the whole song dynamic.
Of the mix. Now, the good news is that these days you don't need an SSL 9000 console to do,
and you never did,
automation. You have powerful volume and pan automation baked right into your DAW software. And most of the time, automation goes underused by the typical bedroom producer,
yes.
Myself included.
Myself included. Like, people crack up how little automation I use in Reaper. Usually I'll actually just make another track and stick the, you know, have a slightly different sound or whatever on the other track, or I'll use the item envelopes when I shouldn't, when I should be using the track envelopes. Oh, I'm a bad guy. But yeah, use more automation.
The early years. So what Wallace is doing here is really, really simple. He's taking, like we said, the most powerful mixing tool at your disposal, volume, and then animating it, as it were, across time, bringing it up here and there, creating some drama here and there. Instead of the right volume statically, always at the same level across the mix, he's taking that right volume for 80-85% of the song.
Oh, Wallace did Rain and Blood? I thought Rick Rubin did Rain and Blood. Or did they both do Rain and Blood? Rain and Blood credits. Let's see. Where's the credits? Credits. Oh, Andy Wallace is the end. Okay, Rick Rubin was the producer. Oh, okay, so yeah, no, Andy Wallace is badass then. Okay. Interesting. But it has that Rick Rubin sound to it. That's interesting.
And then making it even more perfect for the remaining 10 to 15% of the song. Just like a movie director, or really the editor in the editing room, can cut the film and zoom in on certain things in a certain way to force you, the audience, to pay attention.
Okay, so there's your secrets. What are the secrets again? Use your faders, and then use your faders, and you don't need to add a whole bunch of different effects. That's I'm glad we got these secrets. You know, this one was okay. That first one was pretty lame. This one was not bad. I don't know if something's did the marketing machine get in my brain and start infecting me and I can't think anymore. All right, we'll tackle some of the other ones of these in a little bit.